He's the director of the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. Sami, thank you very much indeed for your time. How important are the Qataris in terms of representing the American position regarding a possible ceasefire? Because it is the Americans, isn't it, that are driving it more than any other country?
Well, Qatar has been a very reliable ally of the United States. It's been asked by the U.S. for many years to host the Hamas leadership, particularly after they left from Syria. It has been also the host of the largest Air Force base outside the United States. And it's been pretty much coordinating with the Americans every move they've had. Yet, because of the Israeli intransigence, they have been using the Qataris as the reason why Netanyahu doesn't want to concede or to give any kind of concessions to the ongoing negotiations. The Qataris have been asked by the Americans to be the mediators, and they have been performing this role to the best of their abilities. All the aid that the Qataris have been giving and coordinating with both the Israelis and the Americans have been at the urge of the Americans. But the Israeli and Zionist interests in the United States have been trying to pressure Qatar and pressure officials, particularly Republicans, in the United States to pressure the Qataris so that they can pressure the Hamas to bring about results for the negotiations in order to fulfill Israeli demands, which Hamas has not been willing to do because that's the last card they have, and they wanted relief in terms of the ceasefire, in terms of the withdrawal, in terms of the return of the refugees back to the north. All these things Qatar cannot pressure Hamas to do because this is basically the demands of the Palestinian people, and that's why we have a stalemate. Yet the Zionist interest in the United States, throughout the United States, have been pressuring the Qataris, have been asking for the U.S. institutions who have headquarters in Qatar to pull out. We've seen recently one of the universities in the education city basically telling the Qataris that they will pull out. They're putting all kinds of pressure on the Qataris to pressure Hamas, which is untenable position. And that's why the Qataris are very upset because the United States officials are not telling these Republicans and other Zionist interests that it is in the interest of the United States what the Qataris are doing. Otherwise, there will be no real negotiations.
So if Qatar were to pull out and not play this role anymore, would that mean a reduction in the impetus of the talks, or was there never really any real impetus over the past 6-7 weeks or so?
That would be a huge setback to the ongoing negotiations because the two parties that Hamas is talking to are the Qataris and the Egyptians. The Egyptians pretty much have been doing Israel's bidding. Qataris have been more of a neutral, yet they have been basically telling the Hamas what the U.S. and others want, trying to be an honest broker, an honest mediator. So if the Qataris withdraw, which I doubt very much because the United States will not allow them to do that because the United States know how beneficial the role of the Qataris are. It is just a public relations stunt that the Zionists have been pressuring the Qataris to do. But if it happens, then of course that would be a huge setback because the Egyptians are not fulfilling the role of a real mediator, and therefore the negotiations will further be away from achieving any kind of results.
Sami, you know these statements, they've come from Belgium, from Germany, also from the UK over the past few weeks about those particular countries possibly being ready to recognize Palestine as a state, which they don't do at the moment. Is that a kind of a red herring, or do you think it's actually something that could prove to be very important in terms of finding some sort of way out of this? Because surely, if that were to be the case, Hamas might just think, you know what? We have actually achieved something extremely significant. We can act on this in terms of trying to reduce the tensions between us and Israel.
Well, first of all, there are real demands from certain European countries, particularly Spain, Norway, Belgium, and Ireland, in which they are willing to recognize Palestine as a state within the framework of the United Nations. But of course, everybody knows that at the end, the U.S. would veto this resolution in the Security Council. So it is a symbolic gesture, but it is real. But the Israelis, of course, don't want to see this. But it's not Hamas's demand that these countries or any other country recognize Palestine. Right now, What Hamas wants is what the Palestinian people want, which is to stop this aggression, to stop the killing, the massacres, the genocide taking place in Palestine today. And Israel is not willing to do that because after 6 months, more than 6 months of these kind of genocidal massacres, they have not really achieved their objectives. And therefore, they are pressing to continue this war. And Hamas is not willing to do that. And they're trying to blame other players such as Qatar for delaying this. But that's not going to happen. Hamas and the resistance are refusing the demands of the Israelis. Qatar is only playing a role that has been asked to do. And the international community has not been applying any kind of pressure on Israel to stop this genocidal war.
Sami Al-Arian, really appreciate the analysis. Sami, thank you so much indeed.